What's going on, guys? I'm Dan. This is Scented Waters, and today I'm doing something a little bit different. I'm giving you some info, dropping some knowledge on y'all. But before we go any further, how about you hit that like and also that subscribe? Thank you very much. And also hit that bell. So today will be a little bit different. This is going to be part one of a 4-part series of a do's, don'ts, and need to knows when it comes to fragrances. I've been asked a lot of questions. I've heard a lot of comments and things that I used to think back in the day before I actually got into fragrances and got some knowledge. I am just bestowing onto you my knowledge, my wisdom, things I've come across. So on this first video, the 3 topics that I will be highlighting will be concentrations, types, and designer versus niche. First on the list, concentration. I remember back in the day, I used to say to myself when I heard many other people say, oh, I only wear cologne, I don't wear perfume. Toilette, who wants to smell like a toilet? I only wear cologne, I don't wear perfume. So before I go any further, let me just give you the 5 concentrations that I know of. Eau Fraiche, Eau De Cologne, Eau De Toilette, Eau De Parfum, and Parfum/Parfum Extrait, something like that. Each one of these sections have a certain concentration of oil in them, the actual fragrant oil. The rest is usually either water and alcohol. When it comes to Eau Fraiche, well, however you want to say it, there's between a 1% to 3% oil concentration in it. Those typically don't last that long, 2 to 3 hours max if you overspray. When it comes to Eau De Cologne, EDC, the percentage of fragrant oil is between 2 to 4%. The longevity on those usually lasts about 2 to 4 hours, if that. I've seen a lot less than that, sometimes 1 hour or less, sometimes minutes. But when it comes to the Eau De Colognes, majority of those have citrus notes in them, which citrus fragrances don't normally last that long. They're mainly based for summer fragrances, but I'll get into that a little bit later. Next on the list is Eau De Toilette, EDT. The percentage of fragrant oil in that is between 5 to 15%. Those are a little bit more common. A lot of the colognes and fragrances that you have right now, you buy from department stores, Macy's, Dillard's, and all that. Majority of those are Eau De Toilettes. I used to be one of those people that said Eau De Toilette wants to smell like a toilet. That's just me, the uninformed person that didn't know at that time. Now that I know, I'm a little bit more savvy about it and less immature. Not by much, but Eau De Toilettes usually last between 2 to 4 hours, maybe even 5. But it also depends on the fragrance house that's making that fragrance. Like Dior Sauvage EDT, my first Sauvage house, I have the EDP. This one is an Eau De Toilette. By normal standards, it's supposed to last up to 4 hours, but this one literally lasts me close to 8 to 10 hours. This is a beast mode fragrance, even though it's an Eau De Toilette. Once again, it depends on the fragrance house, but don't get it twisted. Some Eau De Toilettes don't last long at all. Like this one right here, the one that I bought from Bath & Body Works. This is batch 24. Smells great, but it literally lasts minutes on my skin. This I doused myself in this, but like 15 minutes later, I couldn't smell it at all. If any, faint, very faint on my skin. And this is an Eau De Toilette. Next on the list is EDP, Eau De Parfum. Concentrations of fragrant oil in that is between 15 to 20%. This is becoming a little bit more popular in the fragrance community. You know what? It actually has been popular in the fragrance community. To me, it's more popular now because I have recently gotten into it. Has a higher concentration oil, usually supposed to last longer than the Eau De Toilette. But I've also seen fragrances that are Eau De Parfum that have bad performance as well. And last on the list is Parfum, Extrait de Parfum, which that one has the highest concentration of fragrant oil, between 15 and 40%, sometimes more. It is the highest concentration of fragrant oil right about now. I'm pretty sure you can always go even higher if you wanted, but at that point, you're just pretty much putting oil on yourself, lathering yourself up to get fried. It's a lot more expensive, usually the most expensive, because that is just more of the fragrant oil. That is the buying power, the buying element of all fragrances is the percentage of the oil that's in it. Usually a higher quality, not always. It's not the higher concentration that projects the fragrance. It's usually the alcohol that's in that fragrance that disperses the fragrance at the distance. But it's the oil that gives it the lasting power, if that makes any sense. So those are your 5 concentrations: Eau Fraiche, Eau De Cologne, Eau De Toilette, Eau De Parfum, and Parfum Extrait. The second topic I want to highlight is types of fragrances. The types of fragrances that are pretty much popular in the fragrance community are citrus, floral, fruity, green, aquatic/oceanic, spicy/oriental, woody, gourmand, and I think also fougere. First, citrus. That's basic enough. You have your lemons, bergamots, grapefruit, orange, mandarin orange, leaves of the orange, everything that's citrus type. Next on the list is Floral, mainly used in women's fragrances and have been incorporated in men's fragrances. They usually add wood, aquatic, and all these other notes, boost up to be more masculine, but like I said, they do lean more feminine when there are florals in the fragrances. Next one is Fruity. Those, you hear fruity fragrance, you're gonna think girls. But to be completely honest, when it comes to fruity, there are like Pineapple Vintage Intense, Jean Paul Gaultier Ultramel, and this, that, and there. There's a whole bunch of fragrances for men that have fruity notes in them, like pear, apple, orange, and fig, and all these other things that can still be masculine. Don't let that sway you away when it says fruity. Next, green fragrances. Green fragrances give you that summer spring vibe, like Creed's Green Irish Tweed or Bond No. 9's Bleecker Street. And there's a whole bunch of other green fragrances. You also have your Aquatic / Oceanic, the ones that give you the watery vibe, that they usually have a sea salt note to it, aquatic notes to it, the ones that make you feel like you can be at the beach, by the pool, the water, just outdoors in general. Next on the list, Spicy Oriental. Just like it says, spicy. Spice added to fragrances usually just give it a bolder, more out there, in your face type of vibe, like pepper, cumin, incense. Spicy notes usually give the fragrance a warm tone to it. Next one, woody fragrances. That's usually like a dry, warm, creamy, sometimes creamy depending on the type of wood that's being used. Pine cones, moss. Next on the list is Gourmand. Those are the fragrances that make you want to eat it. The one that like smell like chocolate, vanilla, caramel. The ones that smell edible. Gourmand fragrances are usually cake-like, sugary, sweet, dessert type fragrances. Majority of Gourmand fragrances are feminine, but a lot of men fragrances have been stepping up and becoming more gourmandish. The Cacao Dream that I had gotten from Alexandria Fragrances, that was very gourmandish. Smelled so sweet, smelled just chocolate, just pretty much suited me, and it was very masculine at the same time. And last is Fougere. Fougere usually has notes of oak moss or lavender or coumarin in them that just gives it a more herbaceous, woody note or vibe to it, and barbershop type scents. And last subject I want to highlight on this video is designer versus niche. When it comes to designer, it's pretty much self-explanatory. It's a fragrance that's made by designer like Chanel, like Dior, Burberry, Bentley. Any fragrance that's made by a clothing line, a jeweler, a car manufacturer, this, that, and the other, or even celebrity fragrances, those are considered designer fragrances. You'll find them very easily at your department store, your retail store, your drugstore, this, that, and the other. They're very readily available and usually cheaper. Not always, because some of these designer houses just think that they can just charge niche prices, which I don't see makes sense, but so on and so forth. I just watched a video recently of Joshua from Scent Sense that touched on the subject of designer versus niche, and he pretty much hit it on the head. There are also designers that have more exclusive, more expensive fragrances and consider themselves niche, but yet at the same end of the day, they still make clothing. Like Tom Ford has its own private blend, but yet he wants to consider it niche, but it's actually still designer technically. But when it comes to niche, they're more exclusive, harder to get. You can't buy them at the department store like Dillard's, Macy's, this, that, and the other. You usually have to go to a higher end fragrance store, and they're more expensive. Usually supposedly use more quality, higher quality fragrance oils and just ingredients in general. Like Creed, that's a niche house. There's Xerjoff. I think Mancera is also a niche house, but yet they don't charge crazy prices from what I've seen. If you're not living in a place that has a lot of boutiques and all that stuff, like if you're in the countryside of Pennsylvania, you're not gonna easily find those type of niche fragrances. So between designer and niche, designer is a little bit cheaper, easier to get. Niche is a little bit more exclusive, a lot more expensive usually. There are cheaper niche brands, but that's pretty much the gist of it. So that's all I have for this video. Please hit me up in the comment section. Let me know what you thought. Give me some feedback. Let me know what you guys think about it. If you guys agree, disagree, if you have more things to add to it. And also hit that like button and also subscribe and hit that bell. At the end of the day, guys, it's still Scented Water.